Hi, this is Monica with Run, Eat, Repeat, and I'm sharing an update on my foot injury. I've been getting a lot of questions for an update. I have been trying a lot of different things, and more than anything, I want to do this video because when I first got foot pain and started to research what I thought could be wrong with my foot, I didn't find results that were helpful or applicable to me. So in case anyone else is having a similar issue, I just want to kind of give you an update on where I am in the mission, Operation Fix My Foot. First, I'm going to give you a short version of what happened with my foot. Over 3 weeks ago, it started to feel a little tight, a little sore. I thought more than anything, I needed to stretch it out. I used to do a lot. This weird thing where I would be in a very low squat while looking through Instagram. And it felt really good. I thought it was good for me, and it probably was, because I haven't been doing that in a while, this low squat. It feels like it stretches my foot and the muscles of my lower leg. Haven't really been doing that as much lately. It was something that I used to do a lot though. And so I kind of thought at first with the tightness, oh, you don't really do that low squat anymore. Maybe your foot's just tight. Maybe it just got used to it. And I have been wearing shoes constantly because he's not a puppy anymore, but I got a puppy and it's been a couple months now, but when I first had him, anytime I was trying to potty train him. Anytime he would say that he had to go outside, I would want to immediately be ready to go. So been wearing shoes more, haven't been stretching, figured that was why my foot hasn't been stretched or moved as much, just a little tight. Then on a run, it started to feel more than just tightness. It was a weird feeling though, it wasn't straight pain. That was 3 weeks ago, Friday. Cut my long run short on Saturday because it had turned into pain. Not crazy pain, but enough that I was starting to change my gait a bit. So I thought on Saturday, I was out for a long run, thought I'm gonna cut it short. My foot is not happy. I'm gonna go home, ice it, rest, do all the things, baby it, and then I'll do my long run tomorrow instead. Sunday went, this is 3 weeks ago now, to do that long run, and it still didn't feel good. That's an understatement. It was hurting. And I went out for the run, a half a mile in, I thought maybe it would loosen up, didn't loosen up. A mile in, I was like, no, I think this is pain. And if you're a runner, especially like a long distance runner, you know that you kind of have to know your body and know the difference between like discomfort and injury pain. Over the course of running, 13 miles, 26.2 miles, not every part of your body is going to feel like fresh and happy and excited. Things are going to complain potentially. So I was trying to figure out if it was complaining or if it was pain. It was too late. By probably a mile and a half, I think I was like, no, this is pain. I am changing my gait as I'm running, which means I was favoring it and I wasn't doing my normal running form because it had hurt, this is one of the reasons, not the only, one of the reasons you don't want to run on an injury is you could make it worse. You could cause another injury by running funny, basically. You're running funny because something hurts, right? Maybe. I'm trying to do my long run that Sunday, realize it's too painful, so I'm 2 miles in, I turn around to come back home, and I plan on being nice to it. No, I really planned on changing my shoes, taking some ibuprofen, and going back out for the long run. Thought that would solve it. Nope. I limped home. So during that run, it went, I feel like, from not 0 to 60, because it wasn't at 0, but like 15 to 60 potentially. And it should be noted, and this is relevant, especially if you're kind of dealing with something similar, before my run, because I thought there's something going on with my foot, it's not really happy, even though I had iced it the night before, I tied my shoe super tight. I thought that maybe like it was, my foot was weak, it needed more support, that it was more of a support issue. So I tied my shoes really tight because I thought really kind of squeezing them, they needed to feel more supported in my shoes. Probably the worst thing I could have done if what I did was trigger extensor tendonitis. I very likely could have pinched the heck out of my tendon, which was already inflamed, and exacerbated it so that it went through the roof. That's what I think happened, but I don't really know. Cut to Sunday, I am in pain the rest of the day, and I am icing it, I'm taking ibuprofen, I can't really do compression, and I'm running through right now. What I'm telling you is the RICE method. So rest, ice, compression, elevation. I slept with the elevated, so I rested it, I did ice. I couldn't do compression because it was swollen at that point and very sensitive to touch, and it felt like a bruise, and then I slept with the elevated. I was super diligent about that all Sunday. I woke up Monday, it hurt just as bad, if not worse. I went to urgent care because, again, I'm gesturing right here, Diego's right here, my golden retriever, who's not even a year yet, has a ton of energy, and I do not have a yard, so I have to take him out. It was really hard for me. That's an understatement. I was like in so much pain, limping to take him out to go to the restroom. It was the worst. And he doesn't get it because he needs a lot of exercise. He has a ton of energy. So I went to urgent care. They did an x-ray thinking that most likely it was a stress fracture. It didn't show a stress fracture. It probably won't. A lot of times. And I had been researching like crazy all weekend. So I figured it might be a stress fracture, but an x-ray won't show it anyway. But I was hoping that something would happen from urgent care because I could not function. I couldn't live my life. I didn't know what I was going to do in terms of like getting my dog outside to go to the restroom, and I mean just even like limping around inside. It was really bad. And that was super alarming because I feel like the pain was just really hard to deal with. And I was really trying to be smart about it. And so it was just, urgent care, x-ray, didn't show a stress fracture. Again, most of the time it won't. You need an MRI or a CT. I don't know. That's as far as I've gotten so far. The next day, I actually had an appointment with my primary care physician because I realized urgent care isn't like a long-term kind of plan. And I knew that I would probably need a referral anyway. So I went to my doctor to get a referral for PT, and I got ibuprofen. The PT took a long time to go through. The ibuprofen did definitely help. It responds really well to ibuprofen. The problem is that you're not supposed to be taking ibuprofen if it is a stress fracture. I don't know why I'm doing these hand motions, but it's therapeutic to me. But I don't know if it's a stress fracture. This is like the whole thing. I really should have gotten an MRI. I should have tried to push for one. But I have went to physical therapy twice. The physical therapist did some poking around my foot, some different things where he wanted me to stand and kind of go up on my toes, and said that it's most likely not a stress fracture, but it is like a pinched nerve in my foot, or he said it was a pinched nerve along the tendon, basically. I wasn't sure if he was kind of trying to explain tendonitis to me, or if it is like a pinched nerve, because that is also an issue that you can have with your foot. Most of the time though, that pain is on the bottom. My pain on my foot is on the top towards the base of my second and third toe. Also notable, and this is why in part it's been really hard for me to get information specific to my foot issue, is that a lot of the tendonitis on the top of the foot that I see specifies that it is pain towards like the big toe. Yeah, it sounded like I said hoe, big hoe. So the pain is on the top of your foot and more favors towards the big toe. And mine was like the second and third. So it just like has been really hard to kind of figure out. PT, and again, I've only went twice, but everything that he's having me do, I didn't feel any improvement, first of all. Second, a lot of the things I was doing actually were painful, which I think was making it more inflamed. And I needed something else. So I went to acupuncture. That didn't help. And I am a fan of acupuncture. I think that the doctor asked me more questions about my body, my health, my habits than any doctor ever has, which I think is awesome. Love, love, love that. It did not make a dent in my foot pain. Boo. Today, I went to active release therapy. Whoa. That's like a choir of angels, even though it sounds nothing like it. Boop. Loved the experience for a couple of reasons. One, he is an athlete, and active release therapy, he's like a chiropractor. I think he works with a lot of athletes. He does active release therapy and other complementary modalities to help athletes oftentimes. There's also, he works with everyone. I will put a link on Run It Repeat to their website if you are in Orange County. Like, I am a fan because, and I think this is so important, and my primary care doctor is a runner. I made sure to have, I highly recommend that if at all possible, when you're picking your doctor, that if you can find someone that has similar hobbies as you, if they are health related and potentially going to impact the things you go into your doctor for, it would be helpful because they speak the same language. Immediately, as soon as I walked in, he was like, "Oh, you're a runner?" And he said, "I hope you're not running Long Beach or Chicago this weekend." Like, he knows the big races. He knows as a runner, you're potentially not a logical person in how you are going to live your life. And if you're going to try to push it to run a marathon this weekend, it just was exactly the conversation I needed to have. And I just feel better equipped to kind of figure this out. Unfortunately, he couldn't, without an MRI, we can't say for sure if it is a stress fracture or not. We did active release therapy. He taped my foot. And next step is kind of to see if the active release therapy helped, then it likely isn't a stress fracture. If I wake up tomorrow and still feel just as much pain, and he said to give it 48 hours. Basically, if it doesn't feel like it is improving in 48 hours, I should get an MRI and then we can go from there. Because ultimately, the ART, which is the abbreviation for the active release therapy, isn't going to be helpful if it's a stress fracture. I need to not take ibuprofen if it's a stress fracture, and I need to get a boot. I did get a boot as soon as this happened, but it's too high up on my leg, so I haven't been wearing it, but I need to wear the boot because anytime I am stepping or doing anything that is making it painful, I am delaying recovery. So the more information I have, the better. I feel like I finally have more information, the information I wish I would have gotten straight off the bat. So if you are dealing with something similar, I would say if at all possible, you should really try to push for an MRI, which I know is hard. But if everywhere that I am reading, and my doctor knew too, when I went in after urgent care and I went to my primary care physician, she said, oh, you got an x-ray at urgent care? And we were like, yeah, but it didn't show anything. And she was like, yeah, I know. Because she's a runner, because like my primary care, I at least like picked a runner for that. So she realizes, yeah, it's not going to show on there, but that's where we're at right now. So the update basically is, who the F knows is what I want to say. But I feel a lot more hopeful now. The update basically is acupuncture didn't help. PT is potentially, I just feel like it probably needs to, it would be more helpful if it was a situation where if I had a stress fracture and was off of running for 6 to 8 weeks and needed to make sure that I was rebuilding muscle, make sure that I don't create a new injury, make sure that I am completely healthy, that my legs, especially my foot and lower leg areas on both feet, are healthy and able to get back to running again. So right now, I'm just kind of going to, I was going to say watch it, but feel it over the next 24 hours. Try to get in for the MRI if it continues to hurt. If not, then if the ART helped, then probably go back into that. But that's where I am right now. And I hope that you're just watching this because you're trying to kill time and you don't actually have this issue at all, because it is the worst. It's not the worst. I mean, like, I have some perspective. Worse things happen. But it has been frustrating and I feel more hopeful now. I feel, I feel more hopeful. I think the more information you have, the better about your body too. It's just super important to be self-aware, to know yourself, to know what your normal is, to know your pain levels. Like I always talk about running effort levels. I think knowing your pain levels and what is discomfort versus what is injury pain is really important too. But I will be back with a further update depending on ultimately what I decide to do next. If I end up getting the MRI and or go back to ART, I think that is, as of right now, the best next step. I don't think that I will go back to acupuncture for this specifically. And I have more appointments for PT, but I might almost even put those off until I know for sure what it is. And then I can go back with more information so that I can work with the PT a little bit better to make sure that we're doing things to heal and strengthen like this. This is my heal and strengthen dance. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I will put a link to runeatrepeat.com so that I have a couple of posts about this too, that when I was doing research exactly when it first happened, I documented, and then some of the best resources that I have found online for information, I will put a link to all of that too. Thanks for watching.